Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. Here, this is the spot where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Welcome home, Brains. There's only one requirement to hang out on the edge, is that you open your big brain and close your small mind. Did you bring your thinking caps? It's time to put them on, because the conversation starts now. Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. You're back at the spot, the location, the coolest podcast on the planet. The place where the conversation is pointed and the guests are sharp and the responses are never dull. Have any of you been to New Zealand? I've never been to New Zealand. I stopped short at Australia, but we're going there today. We're going to be there with Sue, just Sue. Sue Jones, and we're going to talk to her about rapid transformational therapy and how she is working with women to help them recover from abusive situations. Now, we may be talking about relationships with the spouse, but a lot of times this is epigenetical, where this trauma has been passed down from generations and generations, because if you don't know better, you can't do better. And it is ingrained and embedded in our genomes and in our DNA. How do we break the cycle? Well, she's got plenty of practice because she's a mother of 6. We're going to talk to her about the blended family. I'm so excited to have her here on the show. Let's welcome her. How are you today, Sue?
I'm fabulous, thank you. How are you, April?
I can't complain about nothing. I was just telling you in the green room how I've been cooking. Girl, I should have a restaurant because I have been getting down these last couple of days, but also it's only me and Mr. Magnificent, and I've been getting down hand to mouth too. So I have to watch that. Tell us a little bit about you and how you show up in the world.
All right, a little bit about me. So I'm a mother to 6 children. I have 3 of my own, and I have 3 adopted children. My oldest is 17, and the youngest is 10. So we've got a wide variety, I suppose, of ages. One son, and all the rest are daughters.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So they're all coming into the age. My second oldest is 16, and my youngest is 13. And then my partner's children are 13, 12, and 10.
Now you've got all these teenagers clustered together at one
Mm.
particular time. Is that an interesting conversation?
Lots of days it is, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they
The,
everyone lives in the same household?
my son doesn't live with us. He is studying in Auckland,
Okay.
so he's
But you
not at
got
home.
five living together?
I do indeed. Yeah.
We're going to get into that a little bit because that is a lot going on there. But again, you're able to navigate that because you have a level of understanding. How did you find yourself in the RTT space and helping women with abuse? Now, is your client
Okay.
base primarily women or is it gender?
I currently I've done both, but my heart is to help and specialize with women who have been abused or are being abused in a relationship, whether it be with a partner, a mother, a brother, auntie, uncle, because abuse comes from all angles, not just the ones that are closest to us, although
Or
it is often
sometimes
the ones.
friends. That's one
Yeah,
person,
true.
one group that you did, and they will tear you up the worst. They will really get you because you figure, oh, this is my friend, and I trust what they say, and I trust their opinion and all that. But that could be the dagger in your back, brains.
Mm, absolutely. So, um, where do I start about me? So I've been married twice. The first husband I met when I was 14 years old, he was 19. We, I suppose, grew up together, although he was much older than me. And we had this white picket fence, happily ever after concept of what life and life, or our life, was going to be like. We started a business together. We did lots of naughty things that, teenagers and adults do. drinking, doing drugs, all that, naughty kind of stuff in life. Then we decided to have a family and all that got stopped. Um, but there was some abuse that was starting to creep in with that
Mm.
marriage as well. It was probably more of a sexual nature. So there was sexual abuse and sexual violence.
Okay,
Um,
pump your brakes right there because this is something that people don't pay attention to. Because you're married to somebody or you're living
mm,
with someone, they can still sexually violate you.
oh,
No is
absolutely.
no. No is no is no. You know,
Yeah, but I was young too, and I didn't really have a voice, and I didn't, saying no was not really an option. And it probably wasn't something that came out of my mouth in the first marriage that I had. I don't actually think I verbally stood up for myself.
well, they don't
Um,
know that you can say no to a spouse or whatever. And
mm,
you have an argument or someone is drinking and drugging and hitting on you or whatever, and then, grab you from behind and do whatever it is, that's still sexual assault. But they feel that they don't have a voice, that you're not supposed to say anything because I'm married, I'm supposed to go along to get along. That's not
yeah,
necessarily true.
yeah. Um, the ex-husband used to joke about 1984 because there was some law that was passed in 1984 that up until that point, a man could have sex with his wife whenever he wanted to, and it was not against the law. So it was only in 1984 that it changed that a husband could even rape his wife. Um, and he used to joke about, oh, 1984, you. Yeah. And it was all done in jest and, being young and probably groomed and conditioned to just this is how life was. Um, and it was I don't know, probably ingrained as well, as a child, um, that generational trauma that creeps down and goes through. Um,
Did your growing up, did your parents have a tumultuous relationship?
yes, they did. Yeah.
So that was your mirror. That was your
Oh,
reflection that,
yeah.
that this is how it's supposed to be. I don't understand it any other way. Um,
Mm,
and so I'm just supposed to go ahead. And then if you go to not your mother, but just mothers in general, oh honey, that's just the way that it is. Just go ahead and do
mm,
it. You're married now and you have to do this and you have to do that. I had
yeah.
a family member tell me one time that her husband could see a woman outside the window and it would raise his sexual desire to the point where she'd be on her mincy and he would just she said he was like a dog in heat.
Wow.
He just could not resist himself. And
Yeah.
that's horrible. That makes a person not even enjoy sex. That makes you
Mm.
feel like you are less than, or the complete opposite. It can make you um, promiscuous.
Or does both. You
Mm.
become promiscuous and you don't enjoy sex at the same time. Um,
So you got away
yeah.
from the first husband, and then you got a
So
second.
that, yeah. So I got away from the first husband. It was tumultuous how all that happened. Um, Probably 6 months before I left or got thrown out, I joined AA and NA, and I put myself into rehab
Mm.
because I didn't want to drink and do drugs. And in doing that, you have to go through the 12 steps, which is, accepting that there's something bigger than you, that you actually have a problem, and that you can't do it on your own. And then you've got to go through and start writing. It's almost like a diary, and you have to hold this mirror up in front of your face and look at yourself and who you are as a person, and stop pointing fingers at people and you did this to me and you did this to me. And it's all about owning your own shit, basically. And so I did that, and I'd writing down all the stuff that I'd done to me as a person. There was no finger pointing, there was nothing in there. And it goes back to, even when you're a child and you stole a lolly from a shop, why did you do that? could you possibly benefit from it? So I was going through that process. Um, and I was promiscuous in my marriage. I did have um, extramarital affairs. Um, that was in response to what was happening to me, I believe. Um, and he found my AA diary in my journal, and he was reading through it, and it said that there was drug taking and that I'd been promiscuous and snuck out and done all this stuff, and that there was nothing written down about the abuse that he caused to me. And I wouldn't even want to speak it because my children don't know of the horrendousness of what the abuse was. Um, but if I just say I should be dead, then that might put it into some perspective about the grotesque sexual violence that I suffered through his hands. But I'm not dead, and here I am. So what happened was he found my diary, and leading up to that, I went to a woman's AA meeting, and I was really upset because I'd given up drinking. I couldn't stand my husband. I actually hated him. I hated the way he stood next to me, the way he talked, the way he breathed. Absolutely everything just shivers through my body, and I couldn't stand him. I wouldn't let him touch me because I'd taken away the alcohol. I took away his ability to control me, to drug me, and I was my own person. So, and I went to an AA meeting and I was really upset, and I'm crying in the meeting, and I get down the end of the road and I've got tears, and I'm sitting down the end of the road and I'm trying to stop myself from crying because I was not allowed to cry. I had nothing to cry about. My life was perfect. I had everything that I could possibly want. And on that particular night, I was like, stuff it. I'm actually upset. I'm going to go home. Um, Not a good choice to make. I got home and I was berated and yelled at and stood over. And why are you crying? You've got nothing to cry about. And this lasted throughout the whole next day. He sat me on my children's chair in their room, and I had to sit there all day while he walked around and berated me and ordered me to have sex with him because it was his right. And if I didn't give it to him, he would take it, or he would throw me out of the house. So this is all kind of leading up to the day that he found my journal and read it. And he ripped me out of bed. He said, look at this, I've found this. Probably a bit more angry than that. He threw me out of the house, took my key rings off, threw my clothes out. He gave me a blanket and a pillow, some car keys, and locked the door. I took my wedding rings off, put them down, and I never went back.
Bravo.
Yeah. And through that, I lost my children for 2 years. I didn't have them in my custody because I was an unfit mother. He took my journal to the judge and said, this is my wife. She's not safe to be around our children. And of course, any judge in their right mind would see this thing written as a diary with no dates, no timestamps, no nothing. It's just all written down in no chronological order, and would go, yep, that's it. But it was just power and control. If I wanted to see my children, I could move back. But I couldn't move back into the family home. He'd make me a room on the outside in the far section of the corner that he would allow me to live in on the property if I wanted to come back. And only if and when he decided that I was welcome back in our family home could I go back. I didn't do that. And there were little things like he would stand and he would tell me that, I took away his best friend when I gave up drinking. And he told me that I had you trained perfectly. These are the words that came out of his mouth. And at the time, I was still very broken. I thought, oh, that's really sweet. That's so lovely. But it's not. It's absolutely disgusting.
Well, it's the verbal abuse, and brains, you have to understand that too. Because somebody doesn't necessarily put their physical hands on you, the psychological damage, because it rattles around in that echo chamber of a head of yours. And that's all you
Yeah.
hear. Look in the mirror, you hear his voice, you get dressed, those are the clothes that he bought. the control. You spend his money. Those are his children. Everything is his. I hear a lot of women a lot of times say, you know, they refer to their ex as their ex-husband. They don't give that person a name.
No, they don't.
What
And
they
you
do,
don't own it either. He's
right,
not my ex, he's the ex.
right,
I don't own him.
right. And so what they do, you're still contextualizing and holding on to that person because my ex,
Mm,
it's not. John was this, Bob was that. You have to
mm,
be able to differentiate and separate yourself, your situation, and your marriage. It will always be a part of who you are. But
mm,
what don't
mm.
kill you brings makes you strong. So you
Yeah,
got rid of that husband. You got another
yeah,
husband. What happened with the
I
second
did. So second husband must have saw me coming a mile away.
husband?
Um, I completed the steps for the program and I felt like I'd been reborn. I felt like I'd been given a second chance. I didn't have my children at this point. It was just me. I was living alone. Um, and the silence was deafening, going from having three children that were, within four. I had three, four, and under. Um, and yeah, the silence was deafening. So I met him and he was Mr. Charming.
Mm-hmm.
He, you know, he was just the nicest, charming, most amazing person that you would ever meet, face value. And I was so broken, I think, that, at one point he said to me, well, you need to make a decision because who's going to love you with all that you've been through? Stay with me. That was it. So we decided to get married. We got married, and 6 months after we got married, I left. I packed up the whole house. I got a moving truck and I left because I was like, I'm not being abused again in another relationship.
Mm-hmm.
There is no way that I'm going to do that. But we were involved with the church and pastors and all the church people. So we had, church meetings that went on, and they basically told me that um, I needed to be a better wife and I needed to pray more and I needed to go back to my husband because God would save us and it's God's will. I've already had one failed marriage. You don't want another one. It was kind of all of that. And I think I was just still so broken and I found a community that I thought I might fit into. Um, and I went back for another 7 years. And it was, there was sexual assault in this marriage as well. There was just verbal abuse, narcissistic abuse, gaslighting. I didn't even know what that was until a few years ago. And it never changed. It only ever got worse.
Okay. So
Yeah.
now
So
you
that was the two husbands. And then throughout all of that time, I'd been in and out of psychologists, psychiatrists, counsellors. I'd been diagnosed with PTSD, depression, anxiety, panic attacks. And I always felt that I didn't like those labels. That was something that I had, it wasn't who I was.
right.
So I was almost ashamed to say that I had them because people that I knew that had them often were the extremes of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I just never wanted to own it. So I did probably 16 years of traditional counselling. And then at the end of the last marriage, I met a woman and she said to me, do you want to try some new different therapy? And I was like, okay. So we did some RTT, we did brain spotting, we did so many different things. But RTT was where it started. And it would have been probably 3 to 4 months after doing this therapy with her. I was sitting waiting for my daughter after she'd been seeing her dad in a supervised contact centre. So that goes to tell what type of person he was. I saw him, and every time I'd seen him, I would go into a panic attack. I would start spinning, the color of his car, just seeing him as a person, toothpaste, certain smells and scents. You're in a panic attack, you're breathing, you're hyperventilating, you can't think properly. So I saw him and I took a deep breath and nothing happened. And I was like, this is weird. So I was able to actually stare at this man for the first time in years and just look at him. He couldn't see me looking at him, but I could still look at him. And there was no emotion attached to this person. I still have my memories, but I don't have that intense emotion.
Oh.
So there was no panic attack. There was nothing. So I called my therapist and said, this has just happened. She said, that's amazing. And I said, look, I want to do what you do. Where do I start? Because this works. So that was where I started. And she said, start with RTT.
So you started with the rapid transformational therapy. Explain to my brains what that is.
What is RTT therapy? Oh my goodness, so many things. In short, I always like to tell people it's hypnosis on steroids, because it's short, it's fast, it's rapid. It works on so many different types like that. It works with CBT, transmitters. There's right. I will.
So as you go through these different, now it's a combination of different modalities.
Yes, it is mixed up.
Okay. So
yeah.
So at one particular session, you may go into deep trance. Another one, you may do some emotional freedom technique, EFT.
No. Okay. No. So what happens is you go into a session, you do an intake initially, which is what do you want to work on? April, what's your issue today? And you say, well, look, today what was mine? I think and so you go in and you have this one issue that you want to work on. And I get my magic wand and I say, right, April, if I have a magic wand and your life is absolutely perfect without this issue, tell me what it feels like to live like that. And you go, well, it's going to feel good. And I'm like, well, what does good look like? And we go deep to see how it's going to make you feel once you don't have this issue anymore. And this is just consciously talking.
Right.
So we've got these questions that we go through, and we talk into the conscious brain, and it just gives me an understanding of what kind of stuff we're going to be getting into potentially throughout the session. So when I first did RTT and I laid down, I'd never been hypnotized before. I lay down and I'm going through the steps, and my critical brain is jumping in, going, "This is rubbish. What have I got myself into? Oh my God!" I didn't know what to believe. I actually thought it was just rubbish. I had a bit of a giggle in the back of my head, and then I was like, "Well, you're paying the money, you might as well do it." But man, oh man, did it work. And then what happened to me throughout my session is I was taken back to a scene, a time, a place, an event that is all to do with the reason why this issue is up right here now. And your brain takes you back to that event, that time, that place. And it could be something that might seem totally unrelated, but often it goes back to childhood. Often it goes back to when you're a child, you're a baby, you're an infant in your mother's tummy. And it takes you back there. And then you go through that a few times to go back to these places, and then you work out, okay, this is your problem, and this is where your brain's taken you. And it's like, and how's that led to you to be where you are today? So you make that correlation between them. And the therapist doesn't really make it. It's my truth. Because it's my reality for me. So I make the connection between what my belief was as a child versus how it's made me be who I am today.
Okay.
So for me, as a yes, so for me, I felt that I was unloved, uncared for, unnurtured, and that I wasn't good enough.
okay. And so,
Therefore, I let people treat me the way that they treat me. And
and so now as you work through those issues and you come to the you come to the crossroads. You meet
mm-hmm,
yourself at the crossroads. And then through this therapy, it is also an opportunity to rewrite the script.
100%.
And I tell people that all the time. This is your movie.
Yeah, yeah,
You are the director. You can
yeah,
get up to a certain point and say cut, get to another one and say action.
yeah,
You can rewrite the script. Now, that's not to say that the basic context of the story is the story, but you don't have to keep reliving that. And a lot of times I hear people say when they
exactly.
go through traditional talk therapy, I got one
Mm,
girlfriend I talk about it all the time. Bless her heart. She's been in therapy for 15 years. And I'm like, okay, so when is
mm,
the breakthrough?
yeah,
When is the
exactly.
aha moment? Every
Mm,
Thursday, you're giving somebody $300 for
mm-hmm,
the same narrative.
yeah,
When are you going to reprogram that? When are you not? And I don't like people say, get over it. You're never going to get over it.
no, it's who you
You're
are.
not,
And
you're not supposed to get over it. This is a part of your soul contract. This is a part of your
mm,
journey. This is your truth. If you did not have that, Sue, you wouldn't have what you have today. You would
no,
not
not
be
at
able
all.
to catapult and help other individuals going through this. And
Mm,
again, we want you to understand that trauma is a lot of things. It can be with a friend, it can be with a associate, it can be with a husband, it can be with your kids, it can be with your
mm.
parents. I know some people that their kids torment them. I wish my kid would. I got a surprise for him. Okay, and you will be surprised. Um,
Mm,
you know, the ability to say no, the ability to resist. I'm always kind of fascinated by women that hang in there as long as they do, um,
mm.
because I'm a scrapper. I had a boyfriend one time. That joker knew martial arts, and he kicked me in my face,
Oof,
baby. That leg was never the same.
mm,
Okay, that leg was never the same after I got. I was like, "Are you out your damn mind?" And
yeah,
I realized at that point that this happens to women all the time. I said,
mm.
I'm not going to live that way. And I can honestly tell you, I have been married 40 years to Mr. Magnificent. That man has never called me out of my name. He has
Yeah.
never raised his hand at me. Now, that's not to say we don't have a heated discussion. And there's been some doors slammed and, you know, other situations that have occurred. But physical assault or
Mm,
abuse, no. And
mm,
so that is so foreign to me. And growing up as a child, I never allowed him to spank my daughter because I
yeah.
never wanted a man's hands to be on her. And if that happened, you know that you have to get out, you got to retaliate. So it's hard. But when you look back and you have a mother or a grandmother or an aunt that has experienced the same thing, that you have
Mm,
allowed to see them stick it out, that
mm-hmm,
there's no safe haven. Oh, I can't just run to my mom and dad's. It's going to be okay because mom's going to send me right back to the situation. Or what kind of mother am I because they've taken my children away, you know? And it was a
mm,
defense mechanism, or you self medicated to try to numb yourself from the
mm-hmm,
pain, you know,
mm-hmm.
conversation. And then you've got the friends, girl, I would do this or I would do that. And they're in the same situation, if not worse, or they don't have anybody. So you don't want to
Yeah.
be that woman with nobody. So now
Mm.
that you rise like the phoenix from the ashes and you re-greet yourself and you look in the mirror, that's an adjustment too. How did you adjust? Because that's a whole new you, Sue.
I grabbed it by the bull by the horns, I suppose. I just
You
loved
didn't
it.
grab him by
It
the
was,
wave.
oh yeah, all that. Yeah. Um, I was ready. I was ready. Don't it was overdue. So it was a welcoming change to who I was as a person. I was still me, and I still have carried all the baggage with me, but it seems now like it's such a distant memory because I can remember some of the stuff that happens, but there's no feeling and emotion attached to it.
Let me
I
ask
mean,
you this. Now you're in a relationship now.
yes,
You
I
have
am.
you have onboarded not only your own children, but three of
Hmm.
his.
Hmm.
How did you find love and how did you trust? Because again, we're all human beings. Some of the same situations, conversations, triggers may arise in your new
Hmm.
love, but now you set new boundaries. How are you able to trust your partner now?
Well, my partner and I have a little bit of history together. So we met when we were teenagers, like probably 14 years old. And I was his best mate's girlfriend at the time. And I always had a crush on this person. And nothing ever happened. Um, and I found an old picture of us as teenagers and I sent him a message on Facebook and said, "Hey, look at this." And he was like, "Oh, hey." And I checked on it online and he said, on his Facebook profile, it said that he was single. And for me, that's fair game. You're single, that's fair. So we just started talking, but it was like we were old friends per se, rather than meeting someone new. And we came into the relationship with, we both had nothing to lose. We both didn't, it was just whatever would be, would be. And, we shared initially probably our most grotesque, dirty, dark secrets. This is who I am. This is who I am. And it's like, cool, that's a great platform to start from. And it was just that foundation of trust, I suppose, initially on him putting his heart on the line and going, this is me, this is what I've done and who I am as a person. And then I'm going, well, this is me and what I've done and who I am as a person and my travels and journeys and growth and all this kind of stuff. And then from there, it just blossomed.
Okay, so now you've got five females.
Mm-hmm.
Woo! Every 28 days, I bet is exciting around there.
Yeah, there's
But
three of them. Yes.
yeah, and that it happens. We all, when you're all around the same women in synchronicity, you all start to align that
Yeah, yeah.
hormonal change at the same time. All right. So now, are you being trans? Are you being uh? I can't even think of my word right now. Are you being honest with them? Are you telling them because people have different parenting styles, and some will say, "Well, they're too young," or "I don't want them to know," or "I'm ashamed," or this, that, and the other. Now you're a therapist, so
Mm-hmm.
it may be different for you. But you can't re-raise grown folks. You can't start telling, in my opinion, a 17-year-old about sexuality at 18.
Mm.
This is something when they are very small. The good touch, the bad touch,
Yeah.
how people treat you. Are you a
Mm.
good judge of character?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm sure with six females in the house, there's some, bantering back and forth. There's some animosity. There could be a level of jealousy. I'm not saying that, aggressive. That's just human nature. That's how it is.
Yeah.
How do you bring a harmony to that kind of situation? I mean, what kind of tools do you have? Do we have a sit down once every Thursday? Do we, have a safe place that we are able to vent what we feel? Is there honest, open communication? So I can tell you, Mom, look, I'm 14 and I'm thinking that I'm wanting the sex. Or,
Mm-hmm.
or is there me, I'm the helicopter mom. I'm going through your purse. Shh, girl, I took the door off my daughter. She slammed the door here. I said, "Not here, you don't. Now you don't
Yeah.
have a door." I took the
Yeah.
door off the hinges. Um, I have that conversation. I may not physically put my hands on you, but baby, I got some other tactics that will get your mind together. And that
Sure.
is what parenting is about. I have this unruling, unschooling. What does that look like raising a 13, 14, 15, and 17-year-old in today's environment?
Sure.
I'm
Yeah.
clueless.
So I suppose before I moved in with my current partner, um, my children and I had been through a lot. Um, I separated from their dad, been divorced. Mum had got remarried to an abusive husband who was an absolute jerk to them. And then we moved 11 times in like 8 years. And I think in the end, I was honest with them. I said, look, this is what on based on their ages and stages. So I'm not going to be, I'm honest with them to the point that they can understand, not giving them too much information but not giving them any information.
But what you have to
So
understand with your parents is they've got all the information. They're not able to maybe put pieces together, but they're living. This is their experience.
exactly.
They're
Yeah.
living it.
Yeah.
So they
Yeah.
know and they hear and they see.
Mm-hmm. So I suppose it started with me opening up to them and saying, look, this is where I'm at. This is what's happening with me. And when I was going through the therapy, there was lots of emotions and feelings on my part. So rather than me getting angry at my children, or I might come home and I would say something to them, but my tone was really gruff and I pulled myself up on it. I'm like, oh, okay, kids, listen to the words I'm telling you tonight. Don't listen to my tone. I said, I need, I'm waiting for my nervous system to calm back down again. I've had a really big session. Um, and then they would ask questions and I would explain to them what was going on. And I think through me opening up was just being honest and not shoving stuff under the carpet or pretending that they didn't know, then they were able to be honest with me about what's going on in their life. And since we've had that kind of relationship, they talk to me about the good, the bad, and the ugly, whether I like it or not. But guess what? I'm going to be that mum that they pick up the phone and they know I'm going to pick up and I'm going to be there for them, regardless of whatever the situation is. They're going to call me first. So I had that relationship with my children beforehand. And then the partner's come along with his 3 daughters. And I have a great relationship with their mother. She is amazing and we have this awesome relationship and I wish every blended family could have one like that.
I know. I've got one with my stepson's mother. In all honesty, me and her are closer than me and him.
Yeah. So you get it, you actually can have that relationship with people. And I have weekly conversations with her, I'm like, hey, your daughters are coming into the age where they're going to start liking boys and you have a different upbringing to what I have. So I don't want to be stepping on anybody's toes, but start thinking about how we are going to raise your children, because my children are kind of almost at the other end. So I want to make it a conscious effort between my partner, their mum, and myself, because we are raising their children.
That's
I'm
huge.
raising their children. Yeah, and that's really, really important to me. And we talk and we communicate, and I'm the bad cop, he's the good cop, and I'm happy with that.
Mhm.
Most of the time. Yeah. Sometimes he jumps in and plays bad cop, but that doesn't happen very often. But to be fair, the kids are just delightful. That they've accepted me, which has been really good and easy as well. I just can't say it's happened like more seamlessly and effortlessly than anything.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Well, you had an
there's a lot.
opportunity again to rewrite the script. This
Yeah.
is the sequel to the original movie. What would you say to a young mother that is in the thralls of turmoil right now? She's drinking,
Mm,
she's drugging, he's beaten.
mm,
She
mhm.
just has lost herself. What would you tell her outside of giving you a call?
Um, get out and be safe. Save your children, save yourself. They are your number one priority, and yourself. However that looks, whether you're sleeping in a bedroom together, whether you need to get out because you cannot live and survive with turmoil and all that pain and suffering and continuous abuse that's happening around you. You don't think properly. You can't think properly.
And
You're
let's
in
stop picking
fight
on
or
men because there are women that are abusers. I've got,
yes,
I've
there
got,
are.
I've got a little friend, and
Mm,
you know, he says, Miss April, she be putting her hands on me, and I don't
mm,
want to hit her back. If I hit her back, they're gonna call the police and this, that, and the other. So women, don't think that you can't be, and verbally, women can cut you into pieces with
mm,
their
mm.
mouth, you know.
Yeah,
they can really do some damage.
Yes.
A controller of someone else's relationship. That's like you said, Sue, when you are done, you are done.
Mm.
Allow that person the space to love again. It didn't work with you. It may work with someone else,
Yeah.
but constantly saying you're like your dad or you're like your mom or you're not going to be this, you're not going to be that. These
Mm.
things are embedded in a person's DNA. It is running through their veins. When they
But
look
it
at
can be
themselves
changed.
in the mirror, and it can change.
Yeah.
It can change, and that's what you want. You want the best. So let's ask you some fun questions right now. Sue, when did you get that tongue ring, girl?
Oh, okay. Maybe when I was 15.
But you've had it all that time?
Yeah,
And why
I
did you
have.
want to subject yourself to that kind of pain? It couldn't have been painless.
It
Was
didn't
that
hurt any,
rebellious? Was that rebellion?
of course. Um, it actually probably hurt less than biting your tongue to get it pierced,
Hmm.
but the swelling was significant. It was about 2 or 3 weeks of big fat tongue. It was like this fat.
Wow.
Um, and then I got another tongue piercing, but I have two tongue piercings, but I only wear one. And that's because I have a body piercing business as well.
Oh, okay.
Mm,
I get it. All right. So I see there that you have some body art as well. Have you
yes.
ever regretted that?
No, no. I got it later in life. It wasn't something that I got when I was a teenager.
Was that a
Um,
part of your liberation and a part of your testimony to who you are?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So the one on my arm here reads positively lovable because that part of the transformation and the therapy that I got, it was like, wow, I really didn't think that I was lovable and worthy and enough
Mhm.
and deserved to be loved by anybody. And knowing that I am lovable and, most importantly, I have to love myself, it just changed me as a just on such a deep level. I was like, I want somebody to look at that and go, hey, that's cool. What's that for? It's like, well, actually,
Now,
you are lovable too.
people will say, I don't have piercings and I don't have tattoos only because
Mm-hmm.
of a cultural thing. I've got friends that were in I
Mm-hmm.
can't right, that
Auschwitz. Yeah.
Auschwitz, that still have the numbers tattooed
Mm.
on their skin. I
Yeah.
remember the branding that I saw on my grandmother from when she was in
Mm.
a slave internment camp. Those are just my personal reels.
Yeah.
Sometimes people look at tattoos, people that are covered in tattoos or piercing,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, as body dysmorphia, as they are, that was a form of liberation, but it was also a testament to pain and
Mm-hmm.
shame that they've lived through.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever hear of anyone, maybe not yours, but do you ever hear of anyone that has made deep regrets after doing something like that to their body?
I don't necessarily think about regrets for people, but I do like, and I've been like body piercing for 25 years. So I've been in the industry for a very, very long time. Um, and I believe that it's actually mental health. Body piercing is a part of mental health
Mhm.
because there's lots of people that get body piercings because they're happy, they
Mhm.
celebrate, they get an ear piercing because they want to wear some pretty jewelry. And then, there's the other end of the scale where I'm sad and I'm angry and I'm hurting. My boyfriend's broken up with me. My mum's been yelling at me. I didn't pass a test at school. So they're feeling tumultuous on the inside and they don't know how to express it because we haven't been taught the words to use or how to express our emotions effectively. So what they may do is they may start self-harming. So they're cutting their skin. Um, and short of doing that, they might just come and get a piercing, painful pain. If I can feel something and see it, then it alleviates that symptom for a little bit.
Well, I hear that it can be pretty erotic too. I mean, just keep it 100. Some people say
Mm-hmm.
that there are certain tricks that you need to learn how to do when you got that ball in your tongue.
It's all for show.
That's all for sure. Well, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's people that I wish somebody would pinch my nipple, much less try to put an earring in through it.
Mm-hmm.
Or some people go down as low as the genitalia and get it
Yes.
done.
Yep.
And they say that every time it touches that area,
Yep.
that it is very stimulating. Do you hear that as well? Can that be very
Yes.
erotic for people?
Yeah. So I think that's a two-way thing. I think for a female, initially there might be some like physical stimulation, but often it's older women or middle-aged women that are coming in that are wanting it pierced. And I say to them, are you doing it for sexual gratification or, to help yourself get off? And they're like, yes, absolutely. And I said, the number one sex organ is this.
Absolutely. Tell them.
Yeah, you got to change this. I said, this piercing is not going to solve this issue. So I give them the words. Do you still want to get it done? Because it's not that one piercing and it's going to solve all your sexual problems.
Right.
Because if they're wanting it to help them with their relationship or to become more sexually stimulated, I'm like, that's not the answer. The answer is sort this out.
Yeah, I mean, you see numerous in the two or three in the
Yeah,
nose and in
yeah.
the lips and in the
Mm-hmm.
eyebrows. My niece thought she was doing something, honey, and did herself in the eyebrow. Needless to
Yeah.
say, Auntie had to come to the rescue and heal it. And I was like,
Mm-mm.
you could strike a nerve, you
Yeah,
could bleed out, hit a vein.
yeah,
You need to go to somebody that knows what they're doing, like Sue.
yeah,
Sue,
yeah.
if you were an appliance in the kitchen of all places, what appliance would you be?
Oh my goodness. I've never been asked that question before.
Gotcha.
Mm. I'd ask you the same question about a biscuit.
A biscuit?
What kind of biscuit are you?
Shoot, I'm a honey maple biscuit that you dip in syrup when you're having some fried chicken and scrambled eggs. I would. That's a southern thing. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, there you go. So if I was a biscuit, I would be a mellow puff,
A
which
mellow
is,
puff.
yeah, different countries. So mellow puff's got like a biscuit base, and then it's got a marshmallow on top, and it's got this hard kind of chocolate coating on the outside. So it looks all nice and tough, but underneath it's all a bit soft and gushy and smooth. And, but you've still got that hard base. So I'm a mellow puff. I don't quite know how that might work into the
That's a
kitchen
mellow
stuff.
puff. Okay. So would you be maybe a tea kettle
Mm,
because you're hot and steamy? Would you be a
no,
refrigerator because you want to chill? Would you be an air fryer
mm,
because you want to keep it crispy and juicy?
I don't know. Um, Maybe the tap.
The water tap?
Just, yeah, because you've got hot and cold. Everything needs water in life.
Yeah,
You can control the speed and the temperature that you come out at.
that's good. That's really good.
Yeah. Yeah, that would, if I had to think about, but everything else is so on, one or the other. Yeah, no.
Okay.
Um,
If
yeah,
you could time travel, go back to the past, stay here in the present, or project to the future, where would you land?
right here, right now.
Right here, right now.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. That's great. If you were a car, what kind of car would you be?
Oh, fast. Got to have a good music system.
Mhm.
Um, Safe. I don't know. Yeah, what type of car, but yeah.
I don't know. I could see you maybe being a Porsche.
Mm,
Yeah, I like the new four-door
possibly.
Porsches. Yeah, go test drive one. I could see you sitting in it.
Oh,
Absolutely.
don't tempt me.
Okay. What would you tell a 25-year-old Sue Johnson if you had a conversation with her?
Trust your intuition and that inner voice that we tend to shut down so much.
Mhm.
There is that thing called female intuition, and so often we don't listen to it. Um, know that you're loved, that you are worthy, and that you are enough, and you can rewrite your future.
Okay. The conversation that you're having with that 17-year-old son about his responsibility uh, to being a good man, not
Yes.
necessarily a partner, but being a
Yes.
good man that honors himself, that
Mm-hmm.
respects himself, that respects women, that
Mm-hmm.
does the right thing, that is able to deal with his anger, animosity, frustration in a constructive way.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of things are you pouring into your son?
Oh, off the top of the bat, he's amazing. He is a very smart, intelligent young man. I had the conversation about how he treats women and girls probably from quite a young age. Um, I talked to him about sex, drugs, and rock and roll. If a girl's been drinking, you don't touch her. Even if she says that she wants it, the answer is no. I said, you need to know that. I said, because she can change her mind halfway through. She might not know what she's giving consent to because she might be too intoxicated. So that is one area for me that I've really tried to instill in him. Um, he's very courteous, and he talks. Um, he's able to most of the time express how he's feeling and what's on top for him. He's just a really good kid. He doesn't get into trouble. He listens to what I tell him, and he's got a very um, he's very creative, but he also has that what's the right word I'm thinking of? I know you can just have that conversation with him where he is listening, and I mean the only example I could.
Sounds like he has boundaries.
He does. Yeah.
And there's an element of fear. And I tell
Mm.
people, I don't want my kids to fear me. The hell I don't. I want my kids to know that when I come for you, you better run. I'm worse than the police. There's an element of respect there. And I'm sure that your daughters could have, and your son, taken the path of least resistance and rebelled against you. Oh, well, mom did this and do that. I'm not going to listen to her. What does she know? Blah, 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 blah. And know what they've
Mm-hmm.
done is they've looked at you as an example. They've seen how you've been able to have resilience, overcome, and
Yeah.
adapt. They've
Yeah.
seen that you've been able to find love again and put in these parameters. They've seen how you have been able to put on your big girl panties and incorporate their mother into your life and have a blended family.
Mm.
So they see a winner in you. And I give
Yeah.
you your
Yeah.
flowers now. And that's very
Thank you.
important. There's a lot of people that will
Yeah.
never get that. They'll
No,
never
but my
get.
children, they're not perfect. They did rebel, but they did it very, very young.
And girl, it's not
Um,
over. I got 137 and she,
no. Yeah.
it's a part of the process, but
Mm,
it's to the
mm,
point where they will get to a certain point and then their their respect meter will go off and say, you know what?
mm,
Okay, I crossed the boundary, I crossed the barrier, I'm wrong. Or
mm.
sometimes they go the complete polar opposite, but they've
Yeah,
got to find their own way. We
I
cannot
do.
live our lives vicariously through our children. We want better for them.
Mm,
But again, I had a situation with my daughter about the steam. There was steam compressors on the ground, and she would go past them right after the kids would come from the pool. They liked the way that it felt on their skin. And I told her, I said, baby, you're going to get burned. I said, you're going to get burned bad. I'm on vacation. My husband calls me. Where are we? We're in the ER. Why? She was burned. She is
mm,
37 years old. And I'm
mm,
telling you, to this day, you damn right. I'm going to say, I told you so.
mm-hmm.
Something happens to her. I done told you 2 or 3 times, like I told you about the steam.
Yep.
When she sees a steam compressor now, she crosses the street.
Yep. Yep.
But there's certain life lessons that you have to ingrain in your kids. You don't
Absolutely.
want to torture them, but it
No.
has to be a reminder. It has to be a
Yeah.
reminder. You are the
Yeah.
perfect reminder of what love can be and should be. Tell my brains how to
Yeah.
get in contact with you, if they want to work with you, if they want to consult with you, and if you have any current offerings.
So if you want to get in contact with me, probably the best way is initially through Facebook or Instagram. Message me on that. I'm doing a three. You can get 3 sessions for $1,000 New Zealand dollars. That is not American or any other currency. And that would 3 sessions typically is going to take about 3.5 to 4 months to get through, because of the type of work that it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that is a great way. I'm going to put all of our contact information in the back. Brains, Google it. Okay. Don't just go by what we're saying. You might need a piercing instead of a session.
Well, then come to my piercing shop in Hamilton.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
just another way of expressing yourself. You may need to have a tattoo to show you a constant reminder of where you were and where you aspire to be. So thank you so much, Sue. Brains, I need you to go in and help me find my postcard. To love, like, share, and subscribe. Right here. You see it's
Yeah.
in your face. Love, like, share, and subscribe. Consult with Sue. Have a conversation with her. There's a lot of women right there in New Zealand, uh, Tasmania, Australia. You're a lot closer than California, but she's there and she understands. And she wants to help.
Absolutely.
And she's cool. She's young. She's hip. She got teenagers' brains. Thank you so much, Sue, for being here on the edge with me. I value you and appreciate you, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, brains. Have a good day.